Ready?
I had my first show at LACE, Los Angeles Contemporary Exhibitions, in December of 1983. That's when I first started associating with the downtown art crowd. So everybody's always talking about Al's Bar. So I started visiting Al's Bar in early '84. And by coming to Al's Bar, I started hanging out with people that lived in the American Hotel. They'd come down, have a beer, play pool, listen to music. We all became friends or acquainted with each other, and they'd say, come on up to the American Hotel, we'll keep the party rolling. I moved to the American Hotel in September of 1988. I'd always wanted to come downtown and associate with more artists. And so I saw that the American Hotel had spaces for rent that were affordable. The first day I came here, I met Joel Bloom at the office for the American Hotel. He was managing the building. Joel said there were 2 rooms on the 3rd floor, and one faced the city and one faced Hewitt. He introduced me to another gentleman who wanted to move in the American Hotel, Todd Warren. He had the advantage over me, I think, because he got to the office and talked to Joel first. He wanted the city view, so I took 316 across the hall. He asked what I did. I said, I'm an artist. He said, oh, great, so am I. I'm a poet. I'm starting a new group. It's called 50 Bucks. Come by tonight. We're having our first meeting. So at that meeting, I met 9 or 10 other artists, including Rolo Castillo. We had to wear ties and coats. Todd made sure you knew that before you even showed up. It was a great introduction to the American Hotel. Living in the American really encouraged me to paint, because I was in this bohemian milieu with tons of artists living around me, musicians, writers, actors, and also people who deal in art. And it encouraged me to expand on my ideas and visions of art, what I could do with it. The American Hotel was a big party spot in the 80s, even in the 90s. For example, Don Jones, he had a very large apartment. His door was always unlocked. You could walk right in and say, hi, Don, brought some beer. Usually there were already people there. The party was already rolling by the time you got there, no matter what time you got there. When I moved to the American Hotel, I considered it like a dormitory at a university, with everything that a dormitory implies, you know, fraternity, being part of a family, no matter how dysfunctional that family is. Kind of a family feeling. Although, you know how you sometimes want to kill members of your family? This was a convenient spot to do drugs. The door was often broken to get into the hotel. A lot of hipsters would score drugs downtown, come to the American and do the drugs in the communal bathrooms. Sometimes you'd hear people screaming that somebody had overdosed, or you'd go in the bathroom and there'd be heroin paraphernalia. Downtown was wide open, and so was the American Hotel. After I was here for a couple of weeks or so, Skull, who did a lot of security in the area here, he was looking for somebody to do security on the corner of 3rd and Traction. There used to be an old gas station there that had been converted to an ice cream storage place that would supply the ice cream trucks for the whole east side and downtown. In fact, they had all the ice cream trucks would park there at night. They needed somebody to patrol that area to keep people from breaking in. So I got a job. It paid very, very little, and the hours were very, very long. But the commute was great. When you live in the American Hotel, you have a tendency to think of Al's Bar as your living room, because you live in a small space. Al's Bar's got plenty of space. It's a communal area. There's a jukebox, there are bands playing, you can get beer, you can play pool. The guy who owned the bar asked me if I wanted a job doing door. The pay was a lot better. The hours were not as long. So, of course, I jumped at the opportunity. Al's Bar was such a vibrant part of the cultural community. Bands would want to come from New York to play at Al's Bar. The White Stripes played at Al's Bar. Nirvana would come from Seattle on tour. There were bands from England who wanted to come to LA specifically to play Al's Bar. It was really part of a whole scene that just doesn't exist downtown anymore. It's a historic period, you know. Many, many years later, I'll go to Hollywood and I'll have guys walking to me and say, you did door at Al's Bar. I used to play there. I remember you. After the riots, things really changed downtown. Al's was defunct for a while.
American Hotel, Al's Bar.
Under Toast, becoming manager. She's got bands to come back and play. People would come and see them. Not as many people because everybody's afraid to come downtown, so they thought they're going to get beat up, get their car broken into. But to give them an added sense of security, Toast came up with the idea that I could patrol the area on a bicycle. I wanted to work, and I thought it was a way to help out the community as well. And once the word got out that the area was being patrolled by somebody from Alspar, a lot more people were more likely to come downtown to see the bands. I'm proud to have contributed in that way. Ray Chacon lived in this building since the late 50s. I first met him because he was the cook at the Greasy Spoon on the corner of 3rd and Traction. They called him Barney, though, because back in the 30s, there was a cartoon character in the newspapers. Somebody looked at him one day and said, "You look like Barney so-and-so from the funny papers." And it stuck. From then on, everybody called him Barney.
Barney Google with a googly eye.
I'll have to Google that Barney character, but I guess he must have looked like that guy, you know. He liked keeping the place clean. He would sweep and mop and put in new light bulbs that needed to be put in the hallways and the bathrooms. First time I met him, when he found out we were visiting from the west side, myself and my buddies, he said, "Oh, you should have been down here in the 30s during the Depression." He said, "You could have any woman you wanted for $1, and boys would bend over for a quarter." You could see he was kind of a rough, tough kind of guy. Supposedly he'd been a street fighter. He and somebody else, when they'd get into a fight in the street, guys would bet on them who would win, and he'd get part of the take. That's how he made a living, supposedly during the 30s, from what I hear. Alberto Miares, welder, artist, was thinking of starting a cafe making coffee Cuban style. It was a great place. He decorated it amazingly. It was called Coffee Strippers. All kinds of people come from all over just to go to Coffee Strippers. Artists, writers. It was so cool. Just know you had this place in your building when you lived in the American Hotel. Joel Bloom had his little card table. It was just inside the doorway between Coffee Strippers and what used to be a restaurant next door. It'd be 3 cartons of cigarettes, the filtered Marlboros, the unfiltered Camels, and the menthol cigarettes, a stack of newspapers, and some chocolates, Hershey bars, Reese's peanut butter cups, and he was real happy. You hear his voice. "Here you go. Oh, I don't have change for that. Go to the front, get some change, come back." "Yeah, right. I don't make change." He was very happy there. But when one door closes, another door opens. When you live downtown, if you wanted to go to a video store, you had to drive for miles. It took like half an hour to go somewhere, come back with videos to watch on your VHS. You couldn't buy toilet paper except maybe in East LA in the middle of the night. All kinds of stuff. I mean, pet food, some snacks, just like an outpost on the frontier in the pioneer days. It really became a landmark for downtown. Living downtown in those days, it's like kind of living in a war zone. There was a huge homeless problem, a big drug problem. All the problems going on in the street here is what kept the rent low. Once the problems disappeared, rent started going up and people with more money started moving in. People that wanted part of that bohemian experience. There is still a bohemian existence here, but it's not the same thing as it was in the 80s or the 90s for that matter. I am still downtown. I'm real happy. I have a nice space I can paint, got skylights. I'm a working artist. I have shows. I miss paying 25 cents to 50 cents for a square foot for rent, but things have to grow and change. You can't stop progress. I live a few blocks away. I'll come over here and see my old friends. People make me feel like I'm a part of the community. That's my success. As long as I can do what I want to do, why do I have any reason to complain about anything?